I'm Ron Wyatt. Welcome to the Ark of the Covenant dig. We've been working in this area since 1979, and shall we say it hasn't been an easy job. In 1982 we were able to get into the chamber where we saw some of the furnishings from the first temple. Now we accomplished that by going down through this hole here that's about 40 foot deep, and then coming out of there back up into a chimney in spelunker terminology, and then squeezing on into the chamber.
We broke our way in through a hole.
And we're bringing the radar scanning equipment out of the hotel here.
That's right, and take about a minute for the scan. All right.
Tell them to start.
And you can see the excavation site's kind of hid by these bushes, so...
And you've calibrated to that scale.
This is what, 40 feet down?
Roughly, yeah.
44 feet down?
Yeah. Old wall we found. All digging down.
And an old boiler.
And the hole keeps going down. About how far, son?
That's another 10 feet down there.
10 feet down to Ron down the bottom.
He's found a really
On the end of the jackhammer.
About to, contemplating.
Just.
Alright, at this point,
This is frightening.
So much of the Edron topside there.
It's like you said, the only thing really holding this.
Take a good look. This just caved in a little bit earlier, and that's why they had to put these boards up. Behind, I don't know if you can see, there's nothing. There's the air hose. There's Frank laying the drill down. And I am going to very carefully try to scoot down a little at a time. Oh. You can see it's straight down. Frank with a bucket of rocks.
Can you see the full depth of it over there where Bob is? Pretty far down in there.
There's
Not another
Bob.
4 feet.
What is he doing down there, Frank?
He's cleaning off, we hope, right to his right-hand side. The face of the cliff goes straight down, and we're hoping that that will be the chamber to the right if we can find our way into it through solid rock right there. You can't see it too well from where you're at, but it's been plain straight down. Over here to my left is where we had the cave in, where all this is missing.
Right there. I don't know if this is recording very well or not. Looks like I'm fogged up, but you can see I am in a very confined space. And these guys have been working in here non-stop, day after day.
Probably try to find the entrance, because to use a jackhammer with all this loose material would be almost impossible. We've already had one cave in.
Yeah.
So we'll have to go for finding some way into it, if we can, like a door or some kind of an entrance to it.
It's hard to believe. Okay. I think I probably better call it quits and back up behind me and exit so they can get someone in here to show you this whole chamber. At times there would be, how many men in here, Dale, at one time? Seven
or eight.
And I'm looking straight up now. Uh-oh, I hear...
Bucket coming up.
Oh, bucket. Yeah, now this is what they do. They haul the buckets up, and then
You got my stomach.
they put them,
Okay, go ahead.
Dale puts them on,
Oh.
and Ed up there is hoisting it up through the hole. And then Simon's grabbing it and handing it to Nathan. And Nathan's giving it to Mark, who's hauling it off to the dump.
Pull.
Dale, you got any buckets empty out there?
Yep.
One down below?
It is straight down. Ron says about 40 foot down here. See, we're just standing on, we're in a hole. We're standing on boards that have been laid across to the ledges.
Oh.
Coming down?
All right.
That's how the buckets come down.
That's it.
Is that it?
That's it.
I missed that, but they just toss them down the hole.
First time in 10 months.
Well done. That's a very good one.
Knock that one over.
We're going to follow Mark over to the bus station. See, what they have to do is every time they get buckets of dirt or rock out of there, they have to walk along this path. Now we're heading towards the bus station, where this morning they got tear gassed twice. And Ron was over here dumping rock at the time and got it full force. This is where they dump. You can see it's quite full. We're standing now at the edge of the garden tomb area where the bus station is, looking outwards in the direction of the excavation. Now, we're walking around. We're going to go up and look at the bus station where all the tear gas came from this morning. There it is. I'll get over here in a better position. If I fall, it is straight down. Now, right over here can see Golgotha, Skull Hill. There's Skull Hill, and you come along here where the wall is, down to where the excavation is, which is right there. We're looking right into the area that it is, right there. It's where Christ was actually crucified.
Well, what I discovered when I started excavating down that cliff wall, first of all, I discovered the cutouts in the wall of the cliff where they had posted the signs.
We painted or drew Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews, in the Roman and the Greek and the Hebrew languages, and we put them there, and we set this up to resemble what happened to Christ on the cross. Okay. Now the cross hole is actually right straight down below where we set this thing up. And of course this is the chamber that you've been looking around through with us as we worked. Now this whole fill here needs to be taken out. Here we have niches. These are where the titles of the criminals that were crucified were placed, the name and what they were accused of. This is one right here, and then there's one right up there, and then of course there's one right under that rubble right there that we have filmed before. All of that needs to come out, and right back directly behind and under all of that rubble is a cross hole right directly below the center line of these niches. And then out from that is a first century Christian church, and the massive 13-foot 2-inch stone that sealed the sepulcher that Christ was buried in is affixed into the wall of that first century church that's buried on this site. And this then is the Calvary Scarp, or escarpment, the place outside the city on the north side where most of the traffic passed through that criminals were executed.
What an enormous amount of work this was, and the tremendous difficulties involved. The maze of tunnels seemed endless, as did the many tons of rock and rubble that was removed over the years of work there. He didn't confine his search for the tunnel to the cave system. He believed for various reasons that it most likely had its beginning in Zedekiah's cave, the huge ancient quarry underneath the old city, carved out of the southern portion of Mount Moriah. He found a tunnel entrance sealed with blocks which appeared to be heading in the correct direction.
Now there's two things that are immediately apparent. One is from the color of that rock. This is the old water channel. Also that you're looking at almost a 6-foot hole there that's been plugged with those rocks. And it's aimed exactly in the direction that our excavation across the street is located in. Now here's another thing that wasn't noticed. This rock right immediately to your left is part of a wall. This right here. See that stone, that stone, that stone, another stone below it. So this was double sealed. And whoever explored the cave in recent times broke through this one, but then they did not break through that second one. and we can assume that there's maybe some more baffles or blocked areas farther back.
Upon opening it, he resealed it. It was not the tunnel he was looking for. Each time Ron and his crew excavated, the entrance to the cave system had to be refilled and the area completely cleaned up before they left. This was a tremendous task, as was reopening it each time they returned. So Ron finally installed a steel door which could be easily covered and uncovered with dirt and gravel, yet it allowed easy entrance. It also allowed him the ability to enter the system alone without a crew. This same trip, he and the crew built a beautiful retaining wall around the area of ground directly below the cutouts or niches and above the cross holes.
Getting a little look at our fancy stonework.
Ron continued to persist and spent every spare moment and every spare dime in his search for the tunnel. Perhaps it was inevitable that the day would come when he became discouraged. Someone uninvited showed up when he arrived to resume work there. In the following, as Ron relates what happened next, the camera battery died.
Mix it with sterile water. And a test tube there that we've that'll be enough.
Okay.
And she's going to take some sterile water and a little bit, just a drop's all we need right now.
Okay, so now that we've got the sample on the slide, we'll go ahead and focus into the sample and see what comes up on the screen here. And there they are, thousands of living particles, less than a quarter of a micron in size. The spores are maybe a half micron, and but most of those little particles that you're looking at is 17,000 X, magnified on the screen 17,000 times. You know, in the Bible it tells us that the life is in the blood, and there's little living particles that most people are unaware that are there. And this is the same thing we see in living blood. The scientist in Canada says that these things never die. The blood may dry up, but these things, he says, they're indestructible, and he says they are the basis of life.
The results we obtained in no way can be said to be proof that the specimen was the blood of Christ, but based on the location from which the specimen came, we believe it was what Ron believed it was. Years earlier, Ron had taken a blood specimen from the lid of the case which contained the Ark. On a later trip to Jerusalem, Ron entered the cave system alone through the middle door, and for the first time in quite a while he re-entered the chamber with the Ark of the Covenant. To his utter surprise and disbelief, he found the chamber had been completely cleaned out and all the items from the temple were set up. No longer was the Ark in the stone case.